And welcome back here to the Whiskey Rocks podcast. I'm Joel here with my best friend, Chris. Chris, how are you, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a nice Friday. The weather's good here, and then I'm happy to be done with work for the week.
Yeah, spring finally has sprung, apparently, right? We'll see what that means for us here in Boston. I mean, there's one of those little snowflakes on the forecast on my Apple weather app. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like Wednesday of next week. There's another little snowflake. I'm like, oh, come on.
It'll snow.
It will. It's saying 1 to 3 inches. It's going to be probably a foot, knowing how we've had it lately here. It's been pretty awful. It's been pretty awful up here in Boston this winter. They actually said it was the worst winter we've had in 26 years. I am blaming that fact on the fact that I got a puppy. You know, we were dumb parents and said, "Oh, it's Christmas. Let's get the kids a puppy," and that was a big mistake. I love her; she's a great dog, but it was a huge mistake.
Thank you for taking responsibility.
It's important as parents to do that, right? It's important as parents to do that. It's all my fault. So the people of Boston, if you're listening to this, come egg my house. I'm ready for it. All right. No, this is where we're at, and we're obviously very excited to bring today's episode to everyone. This is a little bit of a different episode for us, right? This is going to be an episode that we have a amazing panel here to talk about a subject that's really important. And as everyone knows, Whiskey Rocks is that podcast where whiskey meets music, but the real stories are always better than Chris or my tasting notes, right? So we're really excited to have everyone here today. So, for a long time, whiskey it's been kind of marketed like it only belonged in like a dimly lit room, some leather chair, a guy named Frank probably explaining something you didn't ask about. But the truth really is it's never actually been the whole story. And that's what today's episode is going to be all about. It's about the people who are helping rewrite that story in real time. And as I mentioned, we've got an incredible roundtable of women who are shaping whiskey from every angle, from education to production to brand and experience. And more importantly, they're part of a shift that's making this space more welcoming, more dynamic, and honestly, goddamn, a lot more interesting. All right. So today we're going to talk about that shift, what they've seen, what's changing, how they're influencing it, and what comes next. And because this is Whiskey Rocks, we've always got a glass in hand, and we're going to be having some fun and tying it all back to music at some point. So let's get into it. Thank you, ladies, for being here. Let's start with introductions. Jazz, you've been on the show before, but introduce yourself to our audience and what you're doing and where people can learn more about you.
Jaz'min Weaver, National Brand Ambassador for Bardstown Bourbon Company. You can follow me on Instagram at jazz.distilled, Jaz.distilled, or you can follow Bardstown Bourbon Co. And I'm essentially a traveling educator for the brand. So thank you so much for having me today.
You bet. And doing the whole little popcorn thing. Liz, you're the next on my screen. So Liz, let's go to you.
Liz Pirnat. I am the head spirits instructor for Napa Valley Wine Academy. I head up all of our spirits programs with WSET and teaching levels 1 through 3 and grading all of the WSET spirits exams for tasting with Napa Valley Wine Academy. I've been doing that for them for 5-6 years now, but been teaching WSET for over 11 years previously from the world of wine.
Awesome. I mean, Chris, we've already got 2 amazing educators on the show. I feel dumb already, which I love. Please, let me learn some here today. All right, Sydney, over to you.
Hi, my name is Sydney Jones. I am a lead distillery technician at Heaven Hill Springs in Bardstown, Kentucky. So essentially a production supervisor. I have been in that role for about 2 years. I currently help oversee all production at Heaven Hill Springs, but I also was hired to commission the distillery as it was being built. So that's been a really fun process. I've been in beverage production for the past 10 years. I've made gin, vodka, liqueurs, whiskey, everything other than tequila, but obviously bourbon is my focus now as I am a Heaven Hill supervisor. So
awesome.
I'm based here in Bardstown.
Awesome. And where can people follow along some more to get some more info from Sydney?
So you can follow me on Instagram. You will see a lot of pictures of my dog and my husband. It's very boring. I'm at Sid Neat NEAT _Jones. And then Heaven Hill has like 10 different social media feeds. You can follow Heaven Hill Distillery, or we have individual brand pages as well. So if you like Rittenhouse or Old Fitzgerald, my personal favorite is Mellow Corn. That's a really unhinged Instagram account.
Oh, yeah. Love
they
that.
post great stuff. Yeah. So you can follow any of those, any of the brands, Elijah Craig being another. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We, big fans of Mellow Corn. We had Bernie Lubbers on last year, and you're right. That account is unhinged, and I love it.
It's my favorite.
Another funny thing, I was in Philadelphia last week for a work conference, and there was an open bar, and all they had was Rittenhouse Rye from a whiskey standpoint. But I wasn't mad about that. I love Rittenhouse Rye. You know, I was just like, wow, what a choice. But obviously, the Pennsylvania connection there, it made sense for Philly. All right, Blair, over to you.
Yeah, my name is Blair Alt. I am the marketing director for Milam Greene Distillery down in Blanco, Texas. I've been in this role 3 months, 3 whole months. I was formerly the national brand ambassador. That's when I was like, I was formerly national brand ambassador and then brand manager. But I have recently taken over the consumer experience, the social media experience, the working with the Tiny But Mighty Me team experience. So
that's awesome. Congrats on that.
Thank you.
You know,
thank
congratulations.
You. It is the dream. It is the dream job.
I'm going to say it correlates with the 2 times prior you've been on our show, and take full credit. Just so you're aware, like I'm taking full credit.
I mean, you're the only one who can like really put this all together, this whole progression, this whole timeline. I think I've been here once in every role. So here we go.
You take credit for a lot of things, Joel.
Well, you know what?
He does.
You know, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. I got to get rid of that. It's a character trait. It's a flaw. Sorry. My apologies.
Look, I love this journey for us.
I do too. And Blair, it's at Be a Whiskey Nerd, correct? On Instagram. Yep. Be a Whiskey Nerd. What a great handle, folks.
Aspirational for all.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, very excited to get into this. Any news that we all want to share? Let's start with you, Blair. Anything out at Milam Greene that we want folks to be aware of? I know you guys have had some releases lately.
Yeah, I mean, it's our first this month. It is the spring. It is spring. It is technically the first day of spring
today. Correct. Yes.
Yeah, and we decided we were going to celebrate with our first wildlife release is the Blue Bonnet. So we decided to evolve into flora. We've been
flowers.
doing a lot of fauna, but Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center is going to be the beneficiary of the proceeds from this bottle sale. So
awesome.
It's also delicious whiskey. You know,
I love it.
Yeah,
that's great. That's great. I'm starting the episode sipping on some of it. So gonna have to get another bottle of that myself. So starting on provisions. Cheers. Starting on provisions. Sydney, over to you. Some news coming out of Heaven Hill.
We have a ton of cool new releases dropping that we're all really jazzed about. Tomorrow, hitting our gift shop will be the latest in our Heaven Hill Heritage Series. So it's a 22-year-old bourbon. We're expecting that to go really quickly. We're already anticipating lines building, so we're really pumped to see that next addition to the Heritage Collection go live. Bernheim 20th anniversary wheat whiskey also has just hit shelves. We have a dinner featuring that whiskey's release next week. In 2 weeks, April 2nd. Time is a construct. Nothing is real. In 2 weeks, I will actually be speaking at that dinner, and I'm really excited to go over the history of Bernheim, what makes it special, what wheat does in terms of whiskey production. And I'll probably wax poetic about Bernheim Forest because it's one of my most favorite things in the world. And then we also have a big new release that we are pairing with a new tour experience that is just going live now, and we're booking out tour packages for it. And that is our latest Deetsville release. If you are familiar with the Heaven
Yep.
Hill Dietzdale rick houses, they are the oldest that we still use. They have a very unique steeple-like structure. They're absolutely incredible, but as they are getting a little up there in age, we are starting to slowly cycle them out of our maturation program. And in honor of that, we are launching a full day's worth of educational experiences, which involve a visit to those rick houses and then the chance to buy a special Dietzdale release. It's the first of two that will be coming out of those rick houses that solely feature them and highlight how special they are to our portfolio. So lots of things happen. Oh, and Elijah Craig 15, that was announced yesterday.
That's right. I just saw that too. Hello. Yeah.
That looks cool.
That's my favorite package that we do, and I absolutely love Elijah Craig. It is one of my daily sippers, so we're really excited to add that on to the more premium age expressions of that portfolio. And I've heard a lot of really positive feedback at it being 108 proof for those people who like a little bit more of a punchier pour.
Nice. Very exciting.
Lots of things.
Very exciting. Lots of things happening. Awesome. Liz, talk to us about the Napa Valley Wine Academy. What's happening out there?
So we don't have any new bottles coming out since we do education.
Obviously, right. You're an educator, right.
But we do actually have a new whiskey education program that we are going to be releasing here starting next month. We are partnering with Edinburgh Whiskey Academy for their certificate of Scotch whiskey. Yes. So I have spent the month of February interviewing a number of different Scotch experts, talking about everything from history to maturation to what new innovative products are coming out, what's going on over in Scotland, whatnot, and all of that's going to be coming out next month in April, and it's going to be awesome. I'm very excited about it.
Very cool.
That sounds really cool. Make sure when that is out, you send us the link and we'll put it out on our socials, right? Get the word out. And then Jazz, last but not least, what's happening with Bardstown?
So as of today, our newest distillery reserve is live. Can only be found at the distillery or the downtown tasting room. We've called it Cascadia because it's a Garyana finish, but a blend of 3 different whiskeys, 9 and 10 years old, rested for 10 months in those Garyana barrels that have been hand toasted. So super excited that's popping up today.
That sounds delicious. Big fan of the Garyana oak. That's a lot of fun. Well, have to keep our eyes open for that. Well, thank you for all of that info. Lots of fun stuff happening. Lots of great things happening at everyone's location. So folks, make sure you're checking out all that information. As we kind of get into our episode right now, let's just have a little bit of fun at first, right? Let's start kind of thinking about this from a music standpoint. And we'll start with you, Sydney. If your whiskey journey had a soundtrack so far, what's the album?
Man, so my whiskey journey.
The hard questions.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And my whiskey journey has taken me to like 4 different distilleries that I have distilled out at in my career. And I love music. I've had the pleasure of working with bands in my career, working on musical projects. When I was at FEW, we worked with Black Rebel Motorcycle Club and Alice in Chains, and that was really, really cool, in addition to Smashing Pumpkins and a few others. But I gotta say, and it's not even an album, it's the entire discography. I'm just going to be a classic 30-something-year-old white woman and say just anything Taylor Swift, man. God, worship the ground that woman walks on. Taylor, probably Reputation, 1989, also great. Also love the Tortured Poets Society. I can keep on going on.
It's all good.
I'm very thankful she made a Happy Girl album. It's really hard to listen to her sadder songs as a happily married woman. But love Taylor Swift. So probably something Taylor Swift. That is the most boring answer probably in the world.
No,
I'm going to own it.
Own it. And it's not just 30-year-old women. It's also my 11-year-old daughter. So, back in my 11, she's had the same journey.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So I do a thing where I listen to an entire discography. I have not done Taylor Swift, although my daughters and my wife are Swifties. I've listened to a lot of Taylor Swift. But last week I did the whole Harry Styles. I listened to every Harry Styles album.
Wow.
So I feel he's really talented. Just
He's
like
so
Taylor Swift.
talented.
They're both immensely talented.
Interesting.
But yeah, I'll have to do Taylor
Chris,
Swift.
there's a reason you probably didn't text me that. But
I took my daughters to the Rock Hall because they had a special Harry Styles day. Like Sunday.
did they really?
Yeah, they did.
Wow.
They got Harry Styles
Interesting.
pins, and there was a concert that was
You're a good dad. You're a good dad. You are a good dad.
I try.
You know,
I try.
don't let me say otherwise. All right, Jazz, let's go over to you. What's the album or artist that describes your whiskey journey?
Okay. At first, when you asked the question, I was like, dang, do I have one? But I think maybe Dirty Computer by Janelle Monáe. Like, I think it's an album that kind of shifts. It becomes more like liberated at the end. And
I love that. Yeah.
I've really enjoyed my career in whiskey, like starting off as a bartender, but now I'm moving from being a buyer into someone who kind of gets to make decisions. Like I'm part of the brainstorming team for marketing. So I feel like I am just growing, like I'm very different from when the album started.
Dirty Computer. That's a great, like that shift that happens. That's great. I like that. Very nice. Very nice. All right, Blair, you're up next.
This is a challenging question that is going to haunt me beyond this episode.
Hey, come on. Yeah, don't let it haunt you, Blair. Come on.
So let's just be clear that is the context of this answer. Yeah, I mean, because the thing is, usually I can relate my life to most Weird Al albums just because my life is absurd. It's just absurd how I'm here. Why? Who am I?
That's great.
But okay. Well, then you know what? We'll do the Weird Al discography actually.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah.
And if we did that, then it would really feel like we went from making albums in a bathroom, all the way to now selling out, whatchamacallit, it's in Manhattan. I'm really bad at venues.
I know.
Madison Square?
Yeah.
Madison Square Garden. Yeah. He sold out Madison
Right.
Square Garden. So, I mean, and it's absurd. It's just absurd.
It is absurd. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Weird Al is a legend, and Chris and I respect that answer. I know for a fact. So,
I love Weird
all right,
Al.
Liz. Oh, so do I. All right, Liz, over to you.
So I'm going to shift gears slightly. I am a huge musical theater geek.
Oh,
and
so am I.
yes. And the one I'm going to pick is Suffs, their cast recording, which is about the women's suffragette movement. Just saw it about a month ago here in Cleveland. Really, the story kind of spoke to me of just a group of women getting together that have from disparate backgrounds and just all coming together. It's heartbreak through the entire throughout the process, but some real wins throughout. And it's a process that is still going to this day. Also, Great American Bitch is like my theme song. So yeah, if you've not listened to that one, it's a banger.
That's great. No, I love those answers. All those answers make a lot of sense and definitely relate to a lot of that's for sure. Just wanted to start there. It's just kind of like a grounding point for us all, but let's shift into what we're really here to talk about. You know, whiskey hasn't always been the most inclusive space, and right, but it's changing, and I want to hear what each of you has seen firsthand. So let's start with you, Blair. When you first got into whiskey, what did the room feel like?
I mean, I started a whiskey podcast because I heard way too many podcasts where it was just dudes and was like, what?
Right.
And literally, whiskey women podcast had not existed. So I was like, oh, well, let's do that. And that was back in 2018. So in the last 8 years, there are many podcasts now that are either, you know, it's just the space is being taken up. We are starting to, it's no longer, in fact, if anything, sometimes I do get a little bit concerned that I'm spending too much time having a conversation about women in the industry versus just being in the industry.
Sure.
But I don't know, if I were to revive the podcast, it would be because that would give me the opportunity to hang out with so many other cool women who are here. including all the people
Well,
who are here. I'm just like, ooh,
yeah.
I should start my podcast again. Like, this is
I
fun.
know. You've said that every time we've had you
I
on.
know.
Blair. I feel
every time you invite me, I'm like, this is fun. I like this.
it is
So,
fun,
yeah.
and that's what it's supposed to be. All right, so Sydney, over to you. Like, when you first got into whiskey, what did things feel like at that point?
So for me as an individual, it just felt exciting. You know, I had been a fan of whiskey for a long time. And I had moved to Kentucky and like really, really gotten into it. And I was planning on going to graduate school and get my degree in social work. And that was the goal. And in the meantime, as I studied for my GRE and prepared for that, I got hired part-time at a craft distillery in Western Kentucky called MB Roland. They're absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
Paul and Mary Beth Tomaszewski gave me my first shot, and they saw that I had this passion, and they were like, yeah, we need extra help around here. Would you like to come join our team? And they saw that I had this like real thirst for operations specifically, and they apprenticed me in, and that's kind of where this whole thing started for me. Was 10 years ago, and I was in a unique position where craft whiskey was like really starting to gain some serious momentum. That was back in like 2016, 2015, somewhere in there. And I had like this rare opportunity where I was learning under a female head distiller, and I was working for a company that was co-owned by a woman, Mary Beth Tomaszewski. And moving through that space and seeing these role models was so informative to me. And I started to think, man, maybe I could really do this. Maybe I could make a career out of this. I love it. I think this is what I'm supposed to do. And at the same time, Marion Eaves had just gotten announced as Castle and Key's first female master distiller in Kentucky. And that was making huge headlines. And it started to feel like I could see like glimpses of myself in the future scattered around. But it never quite came into view until years later. So you could see kind of like snippets of it here and there, but nowadays it feels much more unified. It feels much more present. I'm lucky to be not only in Bardstown, but in Bardstown with a lot of women in operations near me, and they're my friends, and I go get drinks with them, and I talk to them, and I text them, and I vent to them. And that wasn't necessarily a thing, 10 years ago. No. It was for me because I was extraordinarily lucky, but that definitely is not the case for all women, especially women in production that I've talked to, where they're like, yeah, man, I was an island in an ocean. So I'm seeing some really positive changes. There is still so much work to be done, but at the very least now I'm at this point in my career where I have this really solid like cohort of women in production that I can call or text at any point.
That's great. I mean, community is everything, right? I mean, having that
100%.
Having that community of people that you can just rely on and chat with and vent to when you need to is extremely important. So Jazz, over to you, like something that you've noticed completely different today than when you first started. Let's go there. Like, what's something that you've noticed that's just like a completely different 180 turn from where it was when you started in the whiskey world?
Well, one of the things that I am most excited about is not being the only woman in the room. Like, there a lot of times when, like, as the educator, it's just a sea of men, but that has less and less been the case. And we've got some like really cool community building things that exist. Like Bourbon Women is an incredible networking opportunity. Fab in Charleston is a women and business with a focus on food and beverage that just gets larger every year. That's celebrating its 10th anniversary. So seeing these things pop up that are creating the spaces for community and in food and beverage has been thrilling to witness.
No, that's great. That's great. What about you, Liz? Like, what are you noticing in the education world, like in terms of what's different today than when you first started?
So I think the hardest thing for me has been, as somebody who came from the world of wine education, the world of wine went through a lot of this evolution about 20 years ago with the
Sure.
acceptance of women in the business. As somebody who's been involved with the Master of Wine program, over half the students were there in the early 2000s were, and I believe the numbers are still roughly the same, that were half women, and the teaching instructors for the Master of Wine program, were over half women. And it was this huge, like, you would walk around the room and you're like, oh my goodness, like, you are completely welcome and everything is very accepting. And then as somebody who was starting to switch into the world of spirits, I was like, wait, what's going on here? Like, with this, I'm the only woman in this room right now. What's happening? It was a little bit of a surprise. And, flat out, I was somebody who studied computer science in college for a year. And I was like, literally, there were 40 of us in the classroom and there were 2 women. And we joked, we were both the other woman because nobody wanted to be the woman. But so I'm used to being in that space with being, the only female there. So it wasn't like I was scared off by it or anything in that context, but it was just more, it was a surprise that, okay, we're going to be having these conversations over again. But also I will say, having seen where the wine industry has gone, there is a lot of hope for what's going on in the world of whiskey, and the fact that while we do celebrate women and we do talk about it, and there are these fantastic organizations that really help bring more women into the world of alcohol, and like Bourbon Women, that is an amazing organization. And if you have never had an opportunity, for any women who are listening, it is the SIP conference. It is the most fun. Jazz, I know you've been down there. I don't know if Blair and Sydney have had a chance to go to, but it's 400 women and like 10 guys talking whiskey. It's
I love that.
A girls' weekend to an extreme, and it's just so much fun. And it's just, everyone from consumers to enthusiasts to people in the business. So yeah, it's just awesome whiskey.
That's great. I mean, just that example. I mean, 400 women talking whiskey over the weekend. That never would have happened years ago. That's not normal for this space up until recently, right? I mean, so how long did this start?
I want to say this is their 15th anniversary for Bourbon.
15. Okay, so 15.
Mm-hmm.
But you think about bourbon, right? Like bourbon is what, a couple hundred years old. So here we are, 15 years in, and we're seeing this change. And that's important. I think we need to recognize that change. I mean, you're seeing it even in the way whiskey is marketed today. You got brands like Penelope, right? You've got brands that even like Milam Greene. I mean, Milam Greene, you guys are let's talk about that, Blair. I mean, you come from the marketing space. I mean, you are run by women, produced by women. Like talk about that a little bit.
Yes, we are the only bottle on the shelf of any spirit where it is 2 women's names that are not dead and they're not fictional. They're real,
right.
real living women. Milam,
Yeah.
Marsha Milam, and Heather Green. So,
right.
If anything, I'm just like, could any other spirit take a chance and find 2 women to make a brand after? I'm just saying, we don't have to be the only one.
Right.
And it has been interesting to navigate having that be our identity and really not necessarily why we are doing what we're doing. It's 100% about this is just the team of people that can make really good whiskey. We just happened, like Marlene Holmes, who is our master distiller, who came from Jim Beam after 25 years. I'm just like, we got the people to make the really good whiskey. And yes, we do happen to be named after women. So it's wild. But if anything, it's been improving quite a bit. And I think my favorite thing about being in this space, being in this industry, is it really does feel like within all of the problems we're having to talk about gender and everything out there, whiskey can be a space where we can still have a conversation. Because whiskey makes it easier to have conversations. So, so I don't know. It's exciting. It's exciting to see evolution in progress.
No, it absolutely is. So Jazz, like for you personally, and this is where it kind of gets interesting, because it's not just that things are changing. It's you all that's changing them, right? So how do you personally feel like you're influencing the space?
I really think that me even being in this role is important representation. Like, okay, this is gonna sound a little bit silly, but the when The Princess and the Frog came out for Disney, I went and I saw that in theaters because I grew up watching Disney movies, but there had never ever been a black princess before. And to honor the way that the movies had traditionally been made, it was hand animated, just like the classic Disney princesses. And that was incredibly meaningful to me to finally see something that represented myself
Totally.
big and for everyone to consume. And so I feel like being part of the modern bourbon brands, we are doing things that have never been done before. And 133 people applied for this job, but they came to Detroit and they found me behind my bar. So it's
awesome.
I'm getting like a little bit choked up about it, but it is like incredibly exciting to be chosen for my brain and my talent, and then to get to go forth and share that in the setting. And I've had so many people even say like, man, it's really incredible to see you in this role when like whiskey is traditionally, a white male space. So I feel like part of that's an egotistical answer, like, just by existing, I'm shaping the space. But it is cool to have like my opinions factor in and getting to decide, like, I choose how we educate. Like, I choose how we show up for bartenders. They've really given me a lot of trust to enact what I think is important, and that's been just a mind-blowing experience for me.
I have to hearing your answer, so don't like, that was great. Like that's so real and it's so important. So Sydney, over to you. Like, you're in the production side, right? So let's talk about it from that angle. Because that's different. That's a different perspective than Jazz and even Blair. So like, from the production side, how do you feel like you're influencing the space for women?
Yeah. So the way I look at my career at this point, I've been in this game for a minute now. I'm working for one of the largest legacy brands in the world, and we're family owned and operated. We have an extraordinary team. I work under a woman co-president, Kate Latz, who owns Heaven Hill, and that is a huge honor. So my two goals with my job are, I want to make exceptional whiskey. I want to make art. I want to make whiskey that changes people's perspectives. I want to make whiskey that brings people into the fold. I want to leave this industry having made something beautiful. So that's the first thing, and that's my job. That's my day-to-day job. My second goal, the second focus of my career, is to leave this industry better than how I found it. So within Heaven Hill, we have several employee resource groups. I am the chairperson of our women's employee resource group called the Women's Inspiration Network, or WIN. I feel really passionate about WIN and reaching out to the women within Heaven Hill's organization and bringing us together in purposeful community. We're going to be starting a mentorship program within the company for these women, and I'm so jazzed to see it really take off. And then secondary to that, outside of Heaven Hill, I've done a lot of work over the past several years with the Step Up Foundation, which is so near and dear to my heart. They are a nonprofit that gives educational experiences such as fully paid internships to underrepresented populations in the distilling industry. So women, people of color, LGBTQIA, people with just different abilities. And the structure of the program has changed. This upcoming year, there's going to be a remote option that you can do online, where you will learn the ins and outs of production and be given the tools to actually step into a distillery and be hireable. I want to diversify the industry because I think that's what it is sorely lacking. And over the past few years, we have done these fully paid internships where our interns will rotate to several distilleries around the country. And I had the distinct honor of being the mentor to last year's intern. Her name is Kia Boyd. I'm going to send this podcast to her because she is my pride and joy. She is an exceptional young woman from Baltimore,
Awesome.
and she is going to rock the distilling world. And I'm so proud of her. And to witness her journey has been one of the highlights of my life. So the Step Up Foundation is incredible. They do incredible work. If you're listening to this podcast and you are an underrepresented person, AKA you're not a white man, and that might get me canceled, but it's true.
No,
if
true.
you are a person of color, if you're a woman, or if you identify differently, or if you have a different ability and you want to learn more about whiskey production or distilled spirits production, Step Up is for you. And
awesome.
I'm very proud to have been able to have the privilege of working with them.
Fantastic. I love that. And that won't get you canceled, I promise. Like
it's not the most kosher thing to say, but you know,
it's true.
We should have
I
on
think,
the show.
I think
Boyd?
there's
Yeah,
such
Step
promise,
up.
you know.
Step Up.
Yeah, Kia Boyd. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a Kia and Step Up. Maybe come on a future episode.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
That'd be
I
great.
mean,
He is incredible. Yeah.
It's important for us to be sharing this story and talking about this stuff, right? Because it's just real. It's true life. And once again, like one of the things Chris and I have always said about whiskey is that it brings people together, but there's still been a separation. And I think that's what we're trying to talk about here is that like it doesn't need to separate people at all. Like it still should be bringing everyone together, everyone to enjoy the whiskey. And actually, I just switched over to Bardstown. I just switched over to a distillery release. It was a distillery only release, small batch stave finish. So,
that one's delicious.
It is delicious. I'm
kind of mimic a s'more. Like they wanted there to be like chocolatey notes, marshmallowy notes.
Delicious one. I'm gonna do a Heaven Hill before we sign off, and then I'll probably even do some Napa Valley wine. Why not, Liz? You know, I'm kidding. I'll have a great evening over here. No, but let's go to you, Blair. As we start to think about marketing, right? We are seeing a shift in the way that marketing is happening. So what are you kind of seeing in that space? Are we starting to market whiskey differently? And if so, how?
I'm not gonna lie, I'm so curious what Jazz is going to say about this question as well. Because it's wild. It is wild marketing whiskey today. Because first of all, spirits is wild in America. How we're able to sell our products, especially coming from a Texas distillery where we didn't even really have distilleries until 1997. Thanks, Tito's. It's been like, it's just, it is definitely the Wild West is what it feels like to market. The big thing though that I'm seeing is that people really want community. And that is what whiskey really can still do better than most things that try to have community. I mean, you're just not going to have as many industry communities the way that we have an industry community, because our industry is based on a thing that is like literally exists because humans need to tolerate each other. So I'm sorry, it's too real. I don't know. But yeah, I'm seeing that. So Jazz, I'm really curious what you're seeing.
All right, so let's go to Jazz. Jazz, let's talk about the same thing here. I mean, how is whiskey being marketed differently today?
It is. So I think, and my brand specifically in a perfect position for this is people really want that transparency. They want to know what they're drinking. They want to know where it came from. They want to know like the behind the scenes information. And the more of that you can give them, the more excited they are about the liquid. I think another thing that people do not realize is just how much, like, to get a label made, like you're passing so many like checks, and it has to be worded a specific way, and like you got to make sure that your proof is spot on. Like the amount of times where it's like, oh, like yep, there's like this little misprint, rejected, like back to the drawing board, start all over again. Or like when we're talking about the finishes, like figuring out the order of the words before they're like that'll get accepted. Like it's kind of crazy, like the minutia that goes into the behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It's not just someone like slapping something on the label and be like, it's good for the shelf, let's go. It's like it's passing so many checks.
Yeah. No, and one of the things that I will say about Bardstown in particular, my wife is not a whiskey drinker at all, but she loves your bottle shape. She loves the design. And anytime I'm at Bardstown Bourbon Company, like I'm at the distillery, she's always like, yeah, I could see myself enjoying a lunch and a drink there. You know, like you guys have done a good job there. We'll say that.
Thank you very much. We have built it to be almost a Napa Valley destination.
Yeah.
Stop because people love it out there.
Yep.
But to circle back to what Blair said about community, like the whole reason the Kentucky Bourbon Trail exists is because every stop on there was like, we want people to leave Louisville or like go out of their way from Lexington to come see us. And the only way that works is if we do it together. Like you have to celebrate whiskey as a category or else those trails wouldn't exist.
Yeah. No, that's great. So Liz,
I need to hang on.
Oh,
I need to jump in here and make a comment. And we also
Please
need to
do.
comment that the fact that the Kentucky Bourbon Trail came about because of, I believe it was 2 or 3 women. It was Peggy Noe Stevens. And it wasn't Marjorie Samuels, but it was somebody at Makers.
Donna Nally.
Donna Nally, thank you. I'm blanking on the name. Jazz, I appreciate the assistant. I'm trying to remember if there was a third one in the car that started it all also.
There might have been, but I just know those 2.
Those are the 2 that generally get the most recognition. So it was women that started the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. And especially the connection with, like, they were inspired by Napa Valley wine trails. And what I find fascinating, knowing what's going on in the wine industry in Napa Valley, where tourism is flat and kind of decreasing, but tourism in Kentucky is growing. I mean, how many new bars are going into Bardstown, Sydney? Like, it's insane what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is insane. I mean, what Neat just had their new Neat just opened a Bardstown location as well,
and
right?
It's awesome. Yeah, it's incredible. It's one of my favorite bars for sure. And
Old
we
Steel?
see such steady foot traffic through all the downtown region. Like the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, we talk about it being such a driver for our industry, but being in Bardstown, I can tell you it's a driver for the entire state. It's a driver for local economies as well. It's a driver for, local businesses, restaurants, stores, all that. Like the whole thing is raised by this trail that was conceived of by women. It doesn't just cover, our bourbon sales, which are great, but you have these tourists who are coming in, they're spending money in our towns, and that's big. That's really, really big, especially for smaller agricultural centers like Bardstown is kind of known for, other than whiskey. I mean, we grow a lot of corn here and grain.
Yeah.
It's 13,000 people live in Bardstown, 42,000 people live in Nelson County. It's still small.
Yeah, it is still small. There's can't think of the name of the place, but it's a gas station that sells like the best breakfast sandwiches in the world. They've gotten plenty of my
150 Quick Stop. Yeah.
There it is. There it is. I know they've gotten plenty of my money when I'm down there.
You can buy their sausage at Kroger. That's how we get it. Just get it at the grocery.
Oh man, those breakfast sandwiches are like legit. They are.
Here I thought you were going to bring up Preservation Distillery, like woman owned down there.
Well, that's another woman owned. You're right.
She's incredible too.
Yeah. No, she certainly is. So Liz, what I was going to ask you is, what's something from an education standpoint or anything else you kind of see? What's something about the whiskey culture that you think and feel that women are actually making better right now?
I think so. There have been these sort of folklore stories, and it's one where it's like they heard it from a bartender who might have heard it from a brand ambassador, who might have heard it from whomever. And it kind of goes back to like Maker's 42. Well, it's a 42nd experiment. And, that's not really the real story behind it, but it's just one of those where, there's these folklore stories that have been around in the industry for so long. And I'm finding, especially now, there's this real desire for actual education, and whether it's going to a class Jazz is doing with either in the cities or where she's traveling, or, they're coming down to Bardstown Bourbon Company for a tasting, or they decide to take a class, whether it's a WSET class with me or something with like Stave and Thief. There's this thirst for actual knowledge and really coming in, and they're coming in so educated now that sometimes and I'm sure you're finding this even in the tasting rooms when you're talking to people out and about, but it's a matter of, if somebody's just sort of spinning a yarn, you're kind of like, that's not really true. This is what's actually going on there. So it's been interesting to see that in the world of education, how much, especially women, are going, no, I really want to know the real story behind this. It's not just the folk tale behind it. I want to know actually what happened or how it's made.
That's great. So Sydney, let's talk about that, how it's made. So same question. I mean, how are you kind of seeing this whiskey culture being made better by women from a production standpoint?
Ooh, that's a great question. And, I think it's a little tricky because, the work that I do, I am one woman on a team of 25.
Right.
I work with a lot of guys, and they're all outstanding, and they treat me the same, and I've always felt welcome. I was the first hire for Springs. I was the first person there, and I got to hire my team, which was really cool.
Awesome.
But in terms of like how we are making,
let's congratulate that, by the way. That's even that even that is like, let's like recognize that. That's huge. That's huge.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if we necessarily, it's not that we aren't making production better, but I think we can do production just as well as, standards that were put forth. Sure. I know so many women, myself included, I'm an eldest daughter, so I am overachiever central. Like I just like kill myself sometimes to get things right and to get production right. And I know the women that I know in production as well have a similar mentality, not necessarily because they're the eldest child, but because for us to have made it to this point, this far in production, we have to work twice as hard. We have to be more dedicated. We have to pull longer hours. We have to put in additional work. We have to not only be someone who can maximize our yields and hit our KPIs, but we also have to be the smiling face when people walk through, like we have to wear so many hats, even if they're not in our job description. And that's just kind of the nature of being a woman, period. Sure. But you can apply that lens to production as well. So it's hard to quantify how women necessarily are making whiskey better because we're in an unprecedented time where the quality of whiskey that we're pumping out nowadays is just so unparalleled and so good. And there also are more women than have been before that are being pushed into these places of prominence in production. And I don't like to say that correlation is equal to causation, but I think there is a strong case that there is a relationship there because we are just kind of hardwired to work harder because that's just how it is to be a woman in 2026. Shout out the Barbie movie, for crying out loud.
Yeah, great movie.
It's just kind of how it is. You have to be better to make it this far. You have to be twice the employee as maybe some other employees to be taken seriously. So it's a tricky question, especially to look at from a production metric, because I look at numbers, I look at yield, I look at. Exactly. There's a lot of variables that measure the success of a distillery from a production standpoint. And you would think that those wouldn't have a gender bias on them, but the nature of being a woman in any industry presents that gender bias, if that makes sense.
It does. It does.
Yeah. And Sydney, I wanna chime in because that is certainly how I felt as a bartender. Like I felt like I had to be stronger, faster, smarter, more creative, happier, kinder to be given the like half of the credit that like the men around me were getting. But then also like my goal never to be known as like best female bartender. Like I just wanted to be the best, period. So really identifying with you and saying like there's like innately in yourself, like you want to make something excellent and put it out there. And it's not because you're like, oh, I want to be known as the woman who makes the best whiskey. It's like, I want to be known for doing something at this level of excellence.
That's great. No, that's great. And one of the things we hear about a lot in the whiskey world is that women have a better palate, right? So like in terms of being able to pick out different notes, be able to pick out different flavors, things of that nature. Is that fact or fiction? Blair, start with you.
Oh, I love this question. There is some science behind that, but the real truth is anyone who can practice with their palate will reach the level of expertise if you dedicate yourself. Because it really does come down to how much spirit have you consumed and been present during that experience to be able to verbalize. It's very difficult. It's very hard. And where I do see it's easier sometimes for me to share tasting notes when I'm just in a more comfortable atmosphere. So that's also maybe something to think about.
Sure.
Anyway, I've answered that question. I'm done.
Yeah.
Can I chime in here really quick?
Please do. Absolutely.
This is a claim that sometimes absolutely drives me up the wall.
Good. Let's talk about it. Yeah.
Yeah. When people tell me as a woman, I can taste better just naturally, like this handicap that I've been given that just, oh, you're a woman, you can taste better. Oh, you're a woman, you get promoted easier. Oh, this is an excuse for a legitimate skill that you have worked really hard to develop. Oh, you're just naturally better at it. Not that I have taken the time to sit and analyze whiskey, not that I've taken the time to become sensory trained, not that I've taken the time back when I was making minimum wage as a bartender to buy baking extracts to try to nose train myself, like there's work that goes into building a solid palate, and just dismissing it as, oh, you're a woman, of course you taste better. That's accepted science. I think that can be really dismissive for the really intentional work that we put in to develop our palates into what they are. So worth putting out there, and that might come across a little aggressive, but it's one of those things that we gotta give credit where credit is due, man. Like it takes time to sensory train. Like your olfactory senses, they're a muscle, like any other muscle. It takes dedication.
You just said it in your prior answer too. I mean, you're hardwired to work harder, right? Like, and there, the same thing applies. And that's why I asked it in that frame of, is this fact or fiction? And because go ahead,
so
Liz.
Let me jump in here on. So, if you're just looking at sort of like a base level of, the way I like to put it is, if you hand a group of people, a random assortment of 100 people, half men, half women can generally identify certain aromas a little bit quicker. I do think it's, and the way I always like to think of it is, if you're walking through a commercial kitchen and you can smell that the pilot light is out and you can smell the gas, and it's almost always, it was the women walking through the commercial kitchen that would be like, hey, the gas, there's a pilot light not lit where we're smelling gas, where it's not necessarily somebody who's standing right there. And it's that, but I 100% agree with Sydney on it's that intentional training. And this is one of the things that I keep telling everybody is, one of the things I do teach is one that if you, we got the mellow corn going.
That's what the next pour. Yep.
It's one where if you really want to learn to be a good taster, you can learn to be a good taster. It takes intentional training. And I have to laugh because also, so I was pregnant when I was taking my diploma of wine and spirits, unit 3, which is the massive wines of the world exam. I was 6 months pregnant at the time, and I was studying for this exam in Cleveland in total isolation. Nobody else around here was taking the exam at the same time. And I'm writing my tasting notes. My tasting notes are really good. And I'm, studying the theory. And for those of you, if you don't know, this is a huge exam. Like, it's truly wines of the world. It is one day. It is, I don't even remember how many hours of study time. So we go in and I take my exam in the tasting exam in the morning. And then you have, I'm trying to remember how many hours of theory in the afternoon. And I do my tasting exam and I walk out of there and I'm like, wow, that one was really a very much New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. And they're looking at me like, what are you talking about, Liz? This was like an oaky buttery Chardonnay. It was something like completely wildly different.
Right.
You know, everybody talks about how when you're pregnant, you've got this amazing sense of smell. Mine was trash. It was like complete opposite of everything. And it was hilarious because, so I did have to reset that tasting portion of the exam because my palate was completely thrown off.
Yeah, I can imagine. And that's why I wanted to ask a question like that. Because Sydney, I love your answer. Like it's not just an assumed fact, right? Like it's something you have to work at no matter who you are. Like no matter who you are, you have to work at understanding the notes and commit yourself to it. So that's great. So Jazz, let's change direction a little bit here. What intimidates women about whiskey?
You know, I don't even know if this is like a specifically like woman thing. People don't like to be wrong out loud, and I think that
Sure.
The energy around whiskey can feel very pretentious sometimes. Like, oh, you're not picking up on that note, which is a crazy approach because everyone is very different. Like, we don't know if we're seeing the same colors as someone else. Like, I'm never going to be like, oh my gosh, the outfit you put together, ludicrous, because our eyes are different. And I feel like that energy sometimes gets into whiskey sometimes, like, oh, you're not picking that up. But I also think that your experience with smell and taste is very much your own, and it depends on what you've been in contact with in the past. It depends on, I mean, sometimes even what you've eaten that day. So I think, you know, people can sometimes psych themselves out into thinking that they don't have as good of a palate as they actually do.
No, that's good. I mean, totally relate to that. So Sydney, same question. Like, what do you, from a production standpoint, what kind of intimidates women about the whiskey world?
I think from looking at it from a production standpoint, I think it can look intimidating when you walk onto a production floor and you see, you know, machines firing and pumps going and the boiler is loud and things of that nature. And, you know, I never was raised with this curiosity for mechanics. You know, I'm not a mechanically inclined person. That is something I've really had to work at because I just fell in love with this thing that required me to be mechanically knowledgeable to like a dangerous level. So I think the intimidation factor on a production side for women who are getting into the industry is that, man, like this looks like complicated machines to run, and, you know, machines and mechanics feels like a more male dominated field. And it can just be intimidating walking into that kind of thing. I know it was for me when I first started. I remember pumping low wines into the stills. Like, I don't know if I'm going to overfill this thing. I don't know if I'm going to have a spill. I don't know really how to work this pump. This will be fine. Right. Maybe not. And it was, you know, I think sometimes it just requires a lot of courage to kind of make these jumps into these male dominated fields. And I'm saying that from a privileged place because I was given this opportunity and my hand was held, and it can be really hard to enter these production facilities that are so male run, especially as like, you know, an outlier. I think that could be a limiting thing. We don't necessarily see women that are being funneled into these like more hands-on mechanically driven fields. We talk about women in STEM, you know, biology or whatever else, chemistry. I had a guest that came up to me the other day who, and I would hope they weren't being condescending about it, but they came up to me in the control room, like while I was actually like controlling things and like running production. And they said, are you just like a QC person or whatever? And that's no disrespect to QC, but I think there's this assumption that like if women are in whiskey, they're relegated to a lab, they're relegated to a quiet, controllable place. And that's not necessarily the case. So challenging these assumptions and finding avenues to put women in places where they can learn mechanics and get an understanding of that, I think would be like a huge benefit to the industry.
That's awesome. No, I couldn't agree more. So
Hey, Sydney, I think it's interesting that you made that comment about being in the lab, because remember, back in the 70s, women weren't even allowed in the labs.
I know.
In
It's a
Kentucky.
crazy thing. Yeah. Yeah.
My particular
definitely.
favorite from the oral history project at University of Kentucky was, and I'm trying to remember who it was, but women were not allowed in the yeast lab at all because literally it was their period would like screw up all the yeast. Yeah.
Marlene Holmes herself has a personal experience of being dismissed for that particular reason.
Wow.
Yeah. Historically, that is a thing that happened.
That is insane.
Yeah.
That is insane. And here we are in 2026, and obviously, I mean that does show it. We have progressed. So
we at least understand biology. No, never mind. Sorry.
No.
I don't.
I've heard some people talk about women's biology.
I wouldn't go that far, Blair. I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far. I mean, we're still trying to undo years of Frank in the leather chair energy over here. Okay,
that's the part you can edit out.
right. All right, so let's keep talking about like the next generation. Okay, so Blair, let's go to you. Like, what are you doing, or what do you want to do to help the next generation of women in with you?
Honestly, it's just trying to make and maintain a welcoming space, and also really acknowledging it's interesting. I had an answer for your previous question, because when I was working at Poison Girl in Houston, it's a whiskey bar, I started out as the door person, which is not a thing that you would do on Montrose in Houston on a Saturday night, is put a 24-year-old very little girl at the time is how I felt. But it really was all of the social skills, all of, things that are considered soft skills, de-escalation, all of those like ways in which we make it easier for us to work together. Yeah.
Can we talk about that? I hate the word soft skill, by the way. Can we just call them human skills? Because no one wants. They're skills, and no one wants to be called soft. So why do we call them soft skills? I hate that term, by the way. I just do.
Especially when it is the way of now moving, evolving our way of doing work, being to work with each other, and not get lost in this.
Right. It's a human skill, not a soft skill. Let's just get rid of that vernacular. Sorry.
But that is the thing, is like, I like really acknowledging when I'm working, because I'm fortunate to work with many women all day.
Yeah. Right.
But what's really fun is acknowledging the ways in which we are able to show up for each other, the ways we're able to show up for ourselves, that it is just hard to continue being a human, even just in 2026, just generally. And so just acknowledging like we are working hard, and that is the thing that I think helps make the space wider and more welcome.
I love it. So Jazz, what's some advice you would give someone trying to break in today?
I would say that you have to be in charge of your own like future in education. No one is going to give you like the roadmap. If you are like the people that I know that are like the expert, like the most knowledgeable about something, it's because that is a spark that originates from within them. They followed a path of something that they were really excited about, and that's what makes them most excellent in their field currently. So like just chasing down those things, and also acknowledging that like you will never know everything. There will never be a time when you're like, well, my education in this category is just 100% done. I know as much as I possibly can. And I think that hunger for more is what gives you the most success, is like knowing that you have to be an eternal student.
That's great. Sydney, same question for you from a production standpoint. Like what's some advice you would give someone today?
Everything Jazz said, for sure. Stay curious, stay hungry for education, for experiences. That is the most important thing. And also mentally brace yourself, because it can be a really tricky road. You may come up against resistance. You may come up against people that underestimate you, maybe subtly and maybe straight to your face. And that can be like a really harsh thing. Again, as women in 2026, as a gender, we have to be tougher. We have to be more resilient to the things that we encounter. And I think that's definitely true in whiskey. And just spirits production as a whole. Does that make it okay? Not necessarily, but it is something like practically just like, brace yourself. The person who asked me if I was a QC person, I don't think that came from a malicious standpoint, but it was a really cool teaching opportunity to be like, no, like there are women in production who drive this gigantic spaceship, and it's crazy for me too. Don't worry. But yeah, I think just taking a step back and breathing and just holding on tight and knowing that the perception of a small population within this industry does not negate your presence in it. I have to remind myself of that constantly, and I tell that to especially anyone new in the industry, but especially new women in the industry, is stay hungry, look for education, look for experiences and opportunities, but also learn resiliency early on because you will need it.
That's great.
Great advice.
Liz, it's great advice. So Liz, I got a question for you. What do you think whiskey looks like 10 years from now as someone who's on the education side?
Well, based even off of who I'm seeing going through education, we're not going to be having quite as much of a conversation about what's it like to be a woman in the whiskey industry. It's going to be just, that's the way it is.
Yeah.
It's welcome to the whiskey industry. Guess what? Women are here. Women are right now. I want to say women are 40% of whiskey consumers and growing. I've even seen it higher than that. Yeah. So it's one where, it's no longer going to be this dirty little secret that women drink whiskey and like whiskey. It's just going to be part of the industry and part of the talk. Now, we are still going to have pink bottles out and, that are going to be 100% like sold just for women. We're also going to have one whiskey that's just going to be out there that we all love. Yeah, it doesn't matter if you're how you identify. So it's just one of those things where I really do see that evolution happening. You're going to be seeing more and more women in the industry that it's just, I'm part of the industry. It's not just I'm a woman in the industry representing whiskey. That's
great. So Chris, from an edit standpoint, make sure when Liz says dirty little secret, you can get all American rejects in there. We got to make sure we throw that in there. All right. That was about the 1 hour, 5 minute mark. All right. So I'm just saying.
I'm writing it down right now.
Yeah, I bet you are. I bet I could tell. No, but no, that's great. And honestly, that's where we can hope to be. Right. Because I agree, Liz. I hope that conversation changes to like, this is just the industry. It's not just women in the industry, right? This is just the industry. In 10 years from now, hopefully that is where we land. All right. So let's kind of bring this back to having a little bit of fun as we tend to wrap up. Because we like to keep these episodes a little short and tight for everybody, because everyone's got short attention spans these days. Right. So let's go. Let's do some quick lightning rounds for everybody, like we always finish. So we're going to start with you, Sydney, and we'll go around the block. Neat or on the rocks?
Neat.
Are perfect. Blair. Neat. Liz.
Neat.
And Jazz.
Neat.
All right, we're all neat. I love it. That's great. All right, bourbon or rye? We'll start with you, Jazz. Bourbon or rye?
Bourbon for me.
Liz? Bourbon. Oh, she's got the shirt on. Blair?
Bourbon, baby. Come on.
Bourbon, baby. Sydney?
Rye.
Oh,
Rye.
We got one.
I
love it.
Yeah.
One had to be there. All right. We'll start with you on this one, Blair. One bottle everyone should try at least once.
Ow. No, why me first? Okay. Well, you know what? I'm gonna pick the Milam Greene rye actually because it's the rye that made me like rye. Because I thought I had a whole thing where I was like,
Are you talking about the port finished rye? That one?
Yeah. If you are a bourbon woman who thinks you hate rye, I'm so sorry. You have one more rye to try. So.
The port finished Milam Greene rye is fantastic. All right, Sydney, over to you.
Mellow corn.
Yeah.
Mellow corn.
I'm doing it right here. Mm-hmm. Yep. Always. Liz?
Since I've got this one right here, Old Fit 7.
Ooh.
Oh. Bond.
It's good.
That on my
She's
shelf
so cute.
She is cute. Jazz?
I would say the Bardstown Bottled in Bond, 100 proof weeded whiskey, and I'm in love with it. It's my go-to pour at my house, even before I worked for the brand. So
so good. One of my favorites as well. I always have it on the shelf. That's for sure. All right. So what is a song you would play to convert someone into a whiskey fan? Let's start with you, Liz. A song you would play to convert someone into a whiskey fan. I mean, you already said Dirty Little Secret. I don't know. Maybe that works.
Off the top of my head, to become a whiskey fan.
Yeah. Ooh, there's a lot of Morgan Wallen songs. You can always go with Morgan Wallen.
Sure, we can go with Morgan Wallen. I was going to say, the other ones that I'm trying to think of right now that are big whiskey songs. I'm trying to think what I've used on Instagram lately, but I've been using more of that French champagne song lately. So
that's fair. Who wants to answer this question? Raise your hand. What's a song? All right, Blair's got one.
Well, first I was like the Mad Men theme. I
love it.
You get salivating. But no, actually, Vince Guaraldi. Just I don't know. I like just doing a little jazz. Now you don't have any words to listen to. Let's drink some whiskey.
I love it, Sydney. I saw your hand raised.
Yeah. This is going to sound very counterintuitive from Taylor Swift, but Beat the Devil's Tattoo by Black Rebel Motorcycle Club. It is this like driving like rock anthem that like it's nitty and it's gritty and like it's what I like want to unwind to after a hard day. And like it sounds like whiskey in a glass in like a way that is like very validating of like if you've had just a rough day. And like this is a blue collar community, and that's like the kind of music that like my team and I want to listen to while we're working, So I would say Black Rebel for sure.
I love that. That's awesome. That's great.
I haven't. Well, it's not a song, but a style. I love Chicago blues and drinking whiskey.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think those two just go hand in hand. How can you just listen to the blue, like specifically Chicago blues, and not drink whiskey? It's beyond me.
No, that's nothing wrong with that, dude. That's great genre to talk about. Yeah. All right, so let's finish up here as we wrap up. Last words, Jazz. Let's start with you. Last words for our audience today.
My last words are for the people that I got to be part of this podcast with. It was a joy to have this conversation with you and to hear your perspectives and to get to know you a little better. I live for moments like this of connection and community, and like, thank you, Whiskey Rocks, for providing that.
You bet. It's what we're here for. I mean, whiskey is supposed to bring everyone together, and that's what we try to do here.
That's the best part.
That's the best part of it. I mean, yes, of course, it's great to drink that whiskey, but God, it's so much more fun to drink it with people that are just together, right? All right, so Liz, over to you.
Truly, it's if you're looking to get into the industry, there's always avenues to get into the whiskey industry. Women, men, however you identify, there's always places that are looking into the industry to join. And to the rest of the panelists, it's always so much fun seeing all of you in person and online, and definitely look forward to grabbing a drink with all of you sometime soon.
Same girl, same. Right? Absolutely. Blair.
I'm really excited that this came to be because Yeah, I mean, originally, Liz, you were the person that came up in the previous episode, and I was just like, get us in a room together. Let's go.
Right.
So I love opportunities like this. I hope that this is not the only opportunity. We don't have to wait for March
No,
to do
we
this
don't.
again. We
Agreed.
just hang out. And I hope anyone who is listening to this piqued your interest. If you're a badass, come on. We need more of you. So reach out. Let's do it.
Couldn't agree more. And then last, Sydney.
I'm going to echo what everybody else said and said this was so much fun. It was a pleasure being on this panel with you. I learned so much, especially Blair and Jazz. I think this is our first time interacting, so this is really just wonderful to get to know both of you. Thank you, Joel and Chris, for having us on. And to listeners, women in whiskey, women in distillation as a whole is not a fad. It's not something that has been growing over the past 10 to 15 years. We've always been here. You just may not have been aware. The first still ever made 2,000, 3,000 years ago was from a woman, Maria the Jewess, and she was an alchemist. Everything that you are drinking is because of her research and her work. So we have always been here, but excited to have more of a voice now than we did before.
I love that. I love that. Chris.
Last words.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. The community is absolutely wonderful. I know Liz personally through my whiskey club that I started, and just to meet everyone. And like I said, the whiskey is great. Everybody loves whiskey, but I like equality, equity, and I think the world is very in a bad place right now. And I think that it's not that this is a safe space, but this is a space where there's so much love just for a shared product that I think it can break down barriers and change minds.
1,000%.
I love everything about this community, and I love all the men and all the women and everyone in it. Thank you all.
No, honestly, I couldn't agree more. Everyone who's listening, make sure you go to Bardstown Bourbon Company, you go to Milam Greene, you go to Heaven Hill, and even go take a course over at Napa Valley Wine Academy, right? Like, support these brands. They're being led by some amazing women making some major changes. And honestly, that's what Whiskey Rocks is all about right here, right? It's great conversations, it's great perspectives, and proof that whiskey, it's not just about what's in the glass. It's about the people who shape it, who challenge it, and make it better. So thank you. Huge thank you to Blair, Sydney, Jazz, Liz for bringing the insight, the honesty, and honestly, just the great conversations. Right? If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you're following us on Whiskey Rocks wherever you hang out, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We drop clips, pours, bad dancing, music pairings, all. I do, and all behind the scenes. Yeah, you'll see me doing bad dancing, and all those behind the scenes moments that don't always make the episode. And here's what I want you to do: share this episode with a random woman, your wife, your sister, your coworker who drinks tequila, but could be converted, the mom at softball practice who deserves a good pour after dealing with 12 chaotic kids, or honestly, just that one friend who says, I don't like whiskey, but hasn't properly been introduced yet. Share this with them, because the more voices we bring into the space, the better it gets. Thanks for listening. And as always, Whiskey Rocks, sip hard.